8:37 on WMAL. It's Mornings on the Mall with Brian and Larry. Joining us now, Jonathan Collegio. He is the spokesperson for American Crossroads. That's Karl Rove's super PAC. And, Karl Rove has made some news. We talked about it on Monday. He's forming a new organization along with his partner, Stephen Law, also from American Crossroads, forming an organization to sort of help redefine the candidates in certain Senate races going forward. So that, as they put it in the New York Times article, they don't have candidates like Todd Aiken and Richard Murdoch that sort of, as they put it, sort of messed up the Republicans' chances of winning back the Senate. We talked about it on Monday. We had Brent Bozell on yesterday to sort of push back hard on it, and now Jonathan Collegio joins us to speak on behalf of the effort. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the show.
So are we understanding this strategy properly? What exactly is Mr. Rove and Mr. Law trying to accomplish with this new organization?
Well, look, when we look at the last two election cycles, especially contests for the United States Senate, we measure between 4 and 7 seats that were lost, not because we have a bad message as a party or as conservatives in the movement, but because of the candidates delivering those messages. We've been recruiting undisciplined candidates who are unable to stay on message. They've made clumsy mistakes. They've had a difficult time fundraising, and we're losing races not because of our ideas, but because of bad candidate recruitment. We want to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore, so we're not losing races unnecessarily. I mean, look at this. If we had gained 5 of those seats, we would have been able to stop President Obama's tax increases during the fiscal cliff debate because we would have controlled the Senate. That's what this is about. It's electing the most conservative folks possible in the primaries who are also capable of winning general elections. This way we're not forfeiting the seats to the Democrats and the liberals.
Well, I look at the World Wide Web right now, and it's a fire with this headline: Karl Rove to wage war against the Tea Party. Are you waging war against the Tea Party?
Absolutely not. Look, American Crossroads and Crossroads GPS, the two Crossroads groups, have spent more than $30 million over the last 3 years supporting Tea Party candidates, all right? We are second to no one when it comes to supporting conservative candidates for Congress. But what we can't do is push these lousy candidates over the finish line, and that goes for Tea Party candidates, but it also goes for the so-called establishment candidates. We need better candidates across the board, and we believe that we can have an impact in creating those candidates by getting involved in primaries. But this is not a war on the Tea Party. We want to elect the most conservative candidates possible, but we need to make sure that they haven't done anything that disqualifies themselves to win a general election campaign.
Well, isn't it true that a lot of these stories are out there? They quote the New York Times. It seems like the New York Times got to define what you're trying to do there.
I actually thought that amazingly, I thought that the New York Times story was pretty straight. What wasn't straight was the headline on the Breitbart website that said that we're declaring war. It is absolutely false. Look, we designed this group as a way to institutionalize what we call the William F. Buckley rule. Someone asked William F. Buckley a long time ago, well, how do you determine who you vote for in a primary? And he said, I like to vote for the most conservative person who can win in the general election. That's exactly what we're trying to do. We want to elect the most conservative people possible in these primaries, but we also want to make sure that they are capable of running general election campaigns.
Okay, Jonathan.
And when we're electing people like Christina O'Donnell and Todd Aiken, we're forfeiting seats in the generals.
Jonathan Collegio is our guest. He's a spokesperson for American Crossroads and a good spokesperson, but I got to push back a little bit here. I mean, I'm glad you stand by the New York Times article. And just for full disclosure, I work for Breitbart News as well, so I just wanted you to know that before we go forward.
I love Breitbart, but that was a completely editorialized headline that had nothing to do with reality.
All right, so
way too long on the Tea Party.
Let me explain how I think it may be interpreted, because Stephen Law, who is a partner here as the president of American Crossroads, who's part of this, he was quoted in the New York Times article. The New York Times said, who are you talking about here? And he named one candidate. He named Representative Steve King, an incredibly conservative and a champion of the Tea Party, somebody who I think a lot of people in the conservative movement would love to see run for Senate in Iowa. And he's the one guy that Stephen Law singles out and says this is a problem. Steve King is a problem. Why is Steve King a problem? And can't you see how it can be interpreted as, oh, you're going against somebody who's a true Tea Party conservative type?
Look, Steve King is in the news right now because Tom Harkin just announced that he was retiring for the Senate. So it happened to be somebody who is in the news, and he also had a lot of bad headlines last week about things that were in his past that he had said that could be disqualifying. I mean, I don't know what they are. We don't even know what this field looks like. We haven't rolled out supporting Steve King. We've actually spent a lot of money supporting Steve King in House races in the past. Okay? So we don't know what that field is going to look like. It so happened that Steve King has been in the news, and we were asked about some of the questionable things that he had said that he had said on his record. We need to take that into account, both for Tea Party people and establishment people. I mean, look at some of these candidates, like Connie Mack, who ran for the Senate last year in Florida. He raised no money for his campaign. It's a different strain of the exact same problem. We see it with Tea Party people. We see it with establishment people. We need to raise the bar on these candidates that we're electing in primaries so that we can win generals and really fight President Obama's agenda.
Okay, but understand some of the pushback here, because we heard the same stuff when Marco Rubio was challenging Charlie Crist down in Florida. We had the exact same language. Oh my gosh, Charlie Crist is a sitting governor of Florida. This is a seat that we could win. Why do we want to risk it? Let's go for the electable guy. Charlie Crist is now a Democrat, and Marco Rubio is a champion of conservative values in the Senate, a darling of the party.
Look, American Crossroads supported Marco Rubio. In fact, Karl Rove himself wrote a $1,000 check to Marco Rubio in 2009 while the Crist drama was unfolding. All right, so don't ascribe what other people may have done to this effort. We are trying to elect the most conservative people in the primaries who can win the general. Marco Rubio is a great example of somebody that we would support. This is a guy who was able to raise all kinds of money. He was a Speaker of the House. He had all kinds of local support, and he was obviously very, very attractive as a candidate. There are good eggs and there are bad eggs. The bad eggs being people like Christine O'Donnell and Todd Akin.
All right, so let me ask you this: since you, I know you stand by the New York Times article, and you're saying that this is not a war on the Tea Party, and this just got misinterpreted, perhaps. Maybe it's just just throwing it out there, but maybe the next time you guys have a big announcement to make or a big new organization to promote, you don't go to the New York Times, who has never been the friend of the conservative movement or the Republican Party. You go here to WMAL, Talk Radio, or maybe you go to some of the other publications, some of the other journalists out there, so that nothing gets misinterpreted.
Look, I'm happy that you gave me that invitation, because the next time we have news to break, I will definitely come to you guys. By the way, we released a new video on Ashley Judd, who's considering a run for U.S. Senate in Kentucky. We just put it out today. I hope you guys check it out on our website.
We would love to, and thank you for reminding me of Rand Paul, who, by the way, also wasn't the establishment candidate, and we were told that he was unelectable too. We love Rand, don't you?
We actually also spent $4 million helping Rand Paul get elected in 2010.
Thank you.
Nobody supports Tea Party candidates more than American Crossroads.
We just got a few seconds, but I just got to ask you, then how did this thing get so misinterpreted? Because, I mean, you are being perceived as being waging jihad against the Tea Party.
Look, I love Breitbart. I love those guys. I don't know why that headline came up. I talked to one of the guys over there. They know that I'm upset about it, but that's not what this is. This is not a war on the Tea Party.
And let's not just make it
conservatives elected to the Senate.
But let's not make it just about Breitbart, because Brent Bozell, he had the same take on it. So I mean, it's not just that
Bozell,
one side.
Bozell is a hater, and he also has a long sordid history, hating Karl Rove too. So he has weird personal axes to grind. So I don't know what that one is.
Certainly Jonathan Collegio wasn't getting personal.
Can open, worms everywhere. Oh my gosh. Well, now we're out of time. Well,
all right,
just getting good here.
Hey, don't be a stranger. You were a lot of fun.
You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.